we've had is a foreign element compromise our ability to walk in that straight line. Okay? Now, we unfortunately have a stack up of foreign elements right now, right? We have the fear of this virus and the social implications that it can have, right? Whether or not your fears are warranted or not. Perceptually, we really don't care whether it's real or not, right? Things like fibromyalgia aren't real biological disorders, but they create real outcomes, right? People really feel pain. Your brain controls everything you do. If you believe it's painful, it's painful. So it doesn't matter whether or not we're talking in realistic terms. Now this foreign element took us from walking our line and threw us into chaos. And that's where we are, right? Floating around, we have no idea what's about to come. We have absolutely no bearings, right? We're really freaked out because of nothing, but it's not what we had. So we have all of this loss with what we thought was going to be. We have all of this fear of what's going to come. And the tendency is to bear down and hope it stays the same. Well, unfortunately, that can't happen in a healthy way. We will not stay the same right now. There is no way for me to achieve the same outcomes in a different delivery format. But we know we're not going to stay the same. We understand that, right? Now, this chaos is going to reign until we really start figuring out what we're going to do with it. So for the last week, I've been in a zone called practice effect. Practice effect takes in everything that I've gone through, that you've gone through, that all of us combined have experienced in the past. So utilizing ourselves as a resource, we have to start figuring out what we have and what we know that can get us out of this chaotic place. We have to understand what we're up against, right? Luckily, I have practice in that, right? So that term practice. I've done this before. I teach online, right? The course I teach online, I don't really love. Frankly, I hate it. Because I didn't develop it, and you know me, I like things to be me. The other thing we have to be mindful of is effect. We have to be looking forward, and we have to be thinking about all the ways this can go wrong. Will they go wrong? Probably. Can we mitigate most? Hell yeah. And so the first part of that was you getting that survey from me so that I could understand exactly where you're going to be at with technology, so that individually even I can make sure that if you don't have access, I can prep it in a way that hopefully if you can get somewhere with Wi-Fi, even if you need to pull up next to a Starbucks in your car and download stuff on your laptop really quick, in my mind then I'm thinking this needs to be transferable stuff. Live streaming can't necessarily happen as the primary component, right? So that's where I've been. Preparing for this, wrapping my head around what exactly we have as possibility so that I can better plan. After this, we're at a different point now, which is integration. I have a finalized plan, right? I just don't know how to put it out yet. The integrations where now I start teasing around with things and looking at how problems would be accounted for that we already came up with, right? All the troubleshooting we already did in our heads, especially the feedback that you all have given. Awesome thoughts. Really, really smart, pragmatic solutions to things. Also some good feelings about what you love most about class. All of that's really, really helpful. So I get to figure out how to take all of those portions we learned here and try to integrate them in the best way possible. This integration also means there's certain things that we love that we can't do, and we have to make sure that we move away from them, but have something that seems similar, right? Like all the fun we have. It's got to get in there, right? Right, Teresa? That's what you told me. Got to have fun. Yeah, and I love it. And I have ideas. I can't tell you what they are, or they won't be as fun when we get them, right? Now, this integration is key, okay? Because this integration is going to bring us to a new status quo. That was an adorable sneeze. Don't be embarrassed about it on that sneeze. So this new status quo is important because that's where we're going to ground ourselves for the rest of the semester, right? Pretty much like 6 weeks of time, where we're going to have to ground ourselves to make sure we can chew through the rest of this kind of content. We're in a little bit of a different place right now, seeing as this is a prerequisite course that really aligns almost all of you towards what you're going to do in the future. So one of my principal concerns is that you're not going to get the content that you need in a way that you can use it. And so I'm very, very mindful of that, because that status quo has the capacity to also misalign you for what's coming in the future. So again, where we're concentrating on this kind of integration point. Now, this looks tidy, but the problem you have to remember is each time we have one of these, when we have this foreign element and we go into chaos, we have this tendency to look back to our old status quo for comfort, because it's what we know, it's what's reliable. When we move from chaos and start trying to plan, we have the tendency to start planning back to this status quo because it's comfortable, it's known to us, right? In this practice effect, we have a tendency moving towards integration to say, it's too tough, I'm just going to go back to this status quo. And even after integration, we have the problem of not being able to return to normal because we're hoping we were still at this status quo. The only solution moving forward is to literally demolish the image of what we had at this moment, just for this class. Understanding it's not going to be the same, but that we're going to create a new vision of what we're doing. A kind of second half class, if you will, right? Just like if we were moving to a new semester and you just happen to have the awesome ability to have me again. That's all, right? And that's why this is important, that we kind of jump with absolute abandon into this. You know, problems are going to come up. There's going to be issues. Going through this process, there'll be less issues, because if we don't plan that practice effect well, this status quo just has another big foreign element here, right? And then we move forward and then another one comes up. And each time we get more chaotic and more chaotic, and we start losing our ability to integrate well. We don't want to do that. We want to be mindful about this. You know, step one is really getting feedback, knowing what your capabilities are. Some of it was surprising. I did not know so many people did not have access at home. Frankly, that is something that endowed me with a different belief and a new way going forward, which is really, really nice. I frankly assumed too much, which I apologize for, right? I didn't know how many people would be nervous about things like this, right? I didn't know how much you loved just seeing me move around and talk. That is very validating for me, right? And it helps me understand how important the relationship is, right? So think about this, right? As long as we're looking backwards, we're going to be anxious about what's coming. So instead, what we have to prepare for is, you know, exactly what we're going to talk about. how to fucking triumph, right? Let me think about this. How many times in your life have you been able to make like a complete about face in what you're doing? and be able to sit down and have a concise period of time where you can focus in on dialing in so many different needs. Like, this is opportunity. At least for me. Now, some other faculty are going to struggle with this. Be mindful of that. I have kept up with this. This is a comfortable area for me. Like, this is my wheelhouse. I'm a chaotic person. I thrive in these time periods, right? This is what I do for work. This is what I do for play. I live chaotically. I'm not an organized person, right? It's 2/3 of the way up in that stack of papers in that corner kind of guy. Where when thumbing through, I'll find other things that I really should look at too, and set them aside, and make micro piles, right? That's how my brain organizes. But in times like this, I can respond because I'm really, really good at working with data and looking at things in a predictive way and troubleshooting. The other thing you have to understand is the only way we can triumph is if I move away from our typical method of recording how well you do in a course and move towards new methods. And that new method is mastery, and it no longer will be assessment. Every single one of you will reach a height, and that height will be passing this course. You will not be able to fail unless you walk away. Sorry, you can't fail.
Damn.
Right? But you're going to have to reach a certain level to be able to move forward with course materials. Okay? Given feedback, we're not doing timed exams anymore. At least not long ones. That was a miscalculation on my half, just looking back at that old status quo and trying to look at workload. And it wasn't until I realized that, the workload's the part that is going to get you all to get through it, where I step up, right? So we won't do that anymore. What it'll look like is I'll be recording videos as best I can. I don't know how to edit videos. I don't know how to take videos well. I don't know how to be in videos. And I reside on face-to-face communication very highly to feel confident. To the point where even in class, if I see that everybody's kind of in the doldrums that day, you'll see me kind of shrink into myself, right? I require that. So this is going to be tough for me, and it's a personal challenge that I'm kind of happy to go through. Our public speaking class is going to be moving toward editing videos as well, so we're all going to be kind of stupid at it together, and hopefully that'll help. We'll have that incubation center, and they'll be able to help me, and I'll be able to help them. As long as I stay like a step ahead of them, I think we'll be okay, right? But that's risk, and that's goal setting. Never moving forward will you be comfortable. Every time you make a change, you take on a risk. Risks are manageable and they should be exciting. Never should we walk away from a challenge, but we should always really kind of plan for triumph. So let me run you through this, and this is part of my 5-step plan. If you ask some of my upper class students, they've heard it. This is like my TED Talk for life, so you'll get to see this. You have to come at things from the standpoint of development. So remember everything we've talked about so far. Every single stage of development we've gone through, we've had a tension that has produced change, or we've had to move away from that tension that has produced deficit, and pretty much made it more difficult to develop going forward. So if we lean into the tension, lean into the conflict, and put ourselves in a position to be successful, we'll get those growth factors, and you'll start building that efficacy that you need to really motor on here, okay? Now, we're setting a goal, and the goal here is for all of you to have mastery. In order for us to do this goal, we have to understand what goals are and what goals aren't, okay? When we start talking about goals, you have to imagine yourself like an awesome early explorer on the open ocean, right? We point our ship in a direction and we mark a heading towards something, okay? Now, on that, we'll have like rudders, something to steer, oars, wind, something to propel us, right? So in that way, what we have is organization and motivation working together in synchrony. Your rudders right? Or your organization. Where are you putting your time? Where are you putting your resources? What's going where it needs to go, right? Those ORs are your motivation. And this is the only part that I can't help, not directly. Moving to online is going to require an intense amount of self-motivation on your behalf to get through this. But that's the unknown thing that you have to reach deep down and find in yourself, okay? There's some of you who may not be doing well in other classes, right? I know that some of you may be going home to home lives that are not the same supportive environments you have here, okay? But I need you to deep down find a spot that you have sanctuary to be able to motivate and get this done and plan for it best you can. If you need help with that, I can support you. We have other people who can support you too. If it's somewhat unmanageable, let me know and I'll help you figure it out. But we have to find that self-motivation and that context that we can do it, right? You have to be able to walk in there with the same rosy grins that you walk into this room with at around 11:10 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Now, when we start looking at these goals, we have to engineer it well. We manufacture goals. When we think about it, we think about completing the goal, right? That's not a goal. That's an outcome. Getting you masteries are our outcome, really. Our goal's far more finite, and so they're stacked up. For each segment of video you're going to watch, that's a goal for me. That's a content delivery point, and I need to make sure that you're watching those videos. So we stack these up and don't allow you to progress beyond watching those. So when we do this, you'll have to watch all of the videos in order to release the other assessments. You got to do the work to get the work, right? And that's my way of making sure that I'm steering you right and that we're stacking these goals up so you're not looking at trying to do an exam without doing all of the preceding content. That's not smart, and that's not learning, right? So we stack them in an appropriate way. We have to find our upper bounds. One of the things that I looked at when we were doing this course and we were starting to realize how we wanted to redesign it was that problem of how do I make sure that I'm not allowing you to distance yourself and that anything getting in the way of you pass and I'm trying to kind of get out of my prep. And so by really making it so you have to achieve a certain point of passing, you can always retake things to go higher, right? So you can take these small little tests as many times as you want. To get as high of a grade as you want, I'll count the one that's highest, right? That's not problematic. So you succeed to the level you want, but I'm not going to let you fall below a level, okay? Now, we are in this risky position because there's going to be a certain amount of things that I can't account for. I can do all the setup I want, you can motivate as much as you want, we're still going to have problems. In our metaphor for the boat, if we're like trying to sail towards, say, Europe, and we want to go to Spain, and we're leaving from New York, you take an easterly headed. Can we see Spain? Are we going to go straight there? No, we're going to work our way around. We're going to wrap and weave and correct. So you have to understand that we don't know what lies in the middle of this. We've done enough forethought, but we don't necessarily know what's going to happen completely. That's okay, right? It just means that at times we have to steer around a few things. And that's what we've got rudders for. That's what we have those organizational tactics for, right? And that's what we have those outcome objectives for that are kind of the real graded criteria. So we have to think about assessment, and we have to simplify things, so things aren't going to be very complicated, okay? Doing something like live screening 3 times a week is really complex, and it wouldn't work. You don't have 55 minutes you're going to stare at your computer, okay? You can barely make it through a 5-minute video on YouTube. You fast forward it, right? I mean, let's be serious. So that's not even optimal. We think it is because it looks so similar to what we have, right? We have to be systemic about what we're doing. Every single part of the course has to come together and work in unison in order for it to happen. So week in, week out, the structure has to be the same so that we all start coming together and figuring out that flow and creating a balance between all of these different understandings. And so that means week in, week out, it's going to look monotonous. Okay? So that's where the fun comes in. And we'll have to spice it up a little bit more, and we have a lot more ways to do that. Okay? And the last one is we have to plan to fail. This whole thing could not work at all. It could. This could be a vicious defeat, and you can find me in despair on my floor weeping. Who cares? In the grand scheme of things, you've already learned a lot. In the grand scheme of things, you have the perspective that we've already done in this course to get the rest done just through reading. You have that ability. You doubt that ability strongly, and I'm going to argue with you about it. You have it. It ain't tough to read and figure it out. You can do that no matter what. I don't want that, but even if we fail miserably, you'll be able to learn, and you'll have a good output. The other thing is, if we fail at any point in time, I'm just going to do this damn thing over. I'm stubborn as hell. I don't like people telling me I'm wrong. I don't like people telling me I can't do it. If you tell me either one of those things, I'm going to show you that you're wrong if it kills me. Okay? So I don't care if I'm prepping a course for you to just do on your own over the summer because I feel like it went so bad. If that's what it comes to, fine, I'll put that up and we can voluntarily go through and get what you needed. That's the extent to where I'm vested in what we have. Now, you have to think about what holds you back here. Our irrational needs, our insecurities about how we learn, right? Somewhere, some point in time, you heard that you have a learning style and you learn by doing, and that's how you learn, and that's completely wrong, and happened because somebody misquoted research, and then someone didn't do the primary sourcing necessary and misquoted them, and now we're at this point where we have this significant neuromyth of only having one learning style. And it's wrong. You've got them all. You've probably just been putting the resources into one basket. It's time for us to fill the basket so you can do a little bit more. Right? Don't think you need things. Find ways to get them done. Right? You have irrational habits. Habits like preferring to sit and watch me explain things rather than going out and grabbing explanations. And that's okay, that's what I'm here for. But you gotta start finding these habits of information seeking and finding small things. I can tell you what, I'm not the only person who values human development and has a great deal of knowledge in it. And I'm not a person who has videos up on YouTube explaining all of these concepts, but I can guarantee you I've got colleagues all over the country who have done all. It's amazing what you can find on the web to help explain things, right? So get in the habit of going out and finding that extra information. That's going to make you a better student overall. Have confidence. You're okay. So let's talk about your foundation. Make sure this is my favorite part. So, this is my favorite part. Right? So you got to commit fully, right? There's no turning back at this point. You can withdraw from the class, but that wouldn't do very much good. Find a mantra. Tell you something to keep yourself going, right? Howl at the moon. Doesn't matter what you have. Find a catchphrase. Find something that's going to propel you to get going, right? How many of you remember the little engine that could? I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Now that's rather cliche, but if that's where you need to rest, okay. Right? Listen to a couple breakup songs, because that's pretty much what we're going through right now. Right? Listen to some sad music. But find a mantra. Find something that's going to soothe you and get you ready for this. You know, listen to all sorts of angry music, sad music, happy music. Right? Walking on Sunshine's probably not going to do it at the moment, right? But there will be a nice spring day where you can listen to that and then totally skirt off and not care about watching the video for that moment, right? That's the cool flexibility we have. Find your affirmations. Figure out exactly how you need to affirm that you're on the right path. That means reaching out, sending me a note, coming to what we'll have for virtual office hours and things like that. We're all going to be sitting online, waiting for somebody to talk to me because I'm lonely. Do that, and I'll give you those affirmations. Be willing to lose. Be willing to take the fact that our comprehension skills aren't always the best when it comes to learning from video, and roll through them and do it again, and don't let yourself find defeat there. Be willing to lose the first time and learn from it and do it the second time. In some of these, you might have to answer questions more than once to get them right, but that's okay. What we don't know shows us what we need to know, and that's learning, right? Sometimes mistakes propel you to greater truths. Transform your perspective, right? Your perspective so far has been getting done. That ain't it anymore. If you're not learning now, and only going for an output of a grade, yes, swing it. Because now you're going to be forced to learn. You're welcome. Play smart. Know when you need time to do other things. I'm going to be cooped up in my house. Mind you, all of my things are there, and I really like that. And I don't like leaving my house for any reason. My wife cannot survive without leaving the house at least twice a day. I fear for us sharing that space for the next couple of months, right? She will also be home, which means we will be at work mode together, and we work differently. It's going to be an amazing marriage, right? Not the first time something tough comes up, though. Again, not something to worry about, something just to laugh at, because what do you got else to do? Right? Know when to get out of the house is the thing. Know when to take a walk. Be optimistic. Right? This is going to work until it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, we're going to find a new way to make it work. It makes no sense to get upset, be angry, or do anything that doesn't end up getting us to that last goal of making sure that we reach every objective we set out to do, right? So if you're having a problem, communicate it, and we'll work, right? If you're just like totally down, communicate it, and we'll work. Be optimistic. I mean, think about it. All you remember, you used to say YOLO when you were little kids, like your generation specifically is all about YOLO. You only live once. It's the greatest bit of bullshit ever. You live every second of every single day. You only die once. Okay? Be optimistic about those moments. Okay? Because they're the ones that'll make the yodo okay. I went for it. It didn't work. And fail forward. Take failure in stride. Right? Learn from those little ones. I told you I would turn up the volume, but it still scared you. But so, The rest of this is kind of my 5-step program that I developed to help people plan out risks. I don't have to give that to you. You're not planning that stuff. But the foundation of having these risks is what we had to get to, right? I mean, this is what we have to build right now that's going to buffer us away from additional stresses. To some level, you just got to throw your hands up and have a good time, right? You playing my song? Is that what you're thinking about? The butterflies fly away. But think about it. That's the kind of fun we're going to have, okay? So when you see my office hours, when they're advertised, they will tell you what the theme of the office hours are that day. You have to be on theme, please. So if it's 80s day for office hours, please show up ready. Okay, if we're going country, please adapt and overcome. Okay? I'm not a very country person, but I do have hay in the back. Right? But if the only way that we can throw some fun is by digging through boxes in our attics and finding like ridiculous costumes and stuff like that, then why not? I am not a person who really, really cares about how I'm presented in life. I speak through merit and achievement. If I look like a fool, so what? I'm a happy fool, right? And if the main component of where we have fun in here is the interaction, we're gonna do it. It might not be for content and curriculum, but I'm gonna have a good time. It sucks. This is my catharsis in life. It's where I come in and see smiles and am able to be who I am. Losing it hurts me too. I feel for our seniors this year, this is a rough way to go out. It's not the best. From what I hear, they had a good time last night going out. So hopefully that helped a little bit, right? But this is my zone, this is what I'm good at, and this is where I find success. It doesn't always come that way at home. It's a lot more trial and error, right? But in here, I kind of get to feel like a god in a couple of ways. Of just kind of coming in here and getting that feedback. I'm gonna miss it. So I'll reproduce it in every way that I have, okay? I'll be damned if I'm gonna watch Price is Right and think that it's gonna make me feel good, you know? So that's the way we're gonna play it. It'll be really fast and loose, and I'm in for it. Remember, my commitments to you, I don't care about grades. Never have, I never will. I think they're stupid. We talk about assessment a lot. I don't care a lot about assessment. I'm asked to, and I'm never going to do my job poorly. So I hit those things for others. But if I had it my way, you'd learn because you want it. And so what I'm setting up is a trial to see how bad you want it. And trying to hold up that bottom so I can provide it for you. I'll probably be putting in a lot more time, effort, and energy into providing this than I normally would in a semester, and it's probably going to far exceed what I'm paid for. But again, it's my obligation to you. We started this, we'll finish it. Sound good? You'll be getting more information from me, hopefully next week. I'll be burning through my spring break on a computer. Hopefully I won't fall ill, or anybody I know or you know will fall ill, and we'll be proceeding as normal. I've got a good hearty stockpile of Diet Coke because the news said that they perceive a shortage because of different components that go into Coke, all coming out of places that aren't necessarily where you want to be buying goods from at the moment. They don't necessarily have production levels. So I'll be ready and stimulated and having a good time. Have a good time with me, even though we won't be able to see each other face to face as much. Okay? I'll be putting other things up online, like my personal cell phone number, just in case you need to FaceTime, because I do find FaceTime more stable than other video conferencing. Okay? I don't mind you having my phone number, just don't abuse it. I do go to sleep at like 9 o'clock, although I haven't been sleeping at all lately. And frankly, don't feel like you're intruding in my space. By reaching out by text message or a phone call, even those are anxiety provoking for us. You're adults. You're not students. You can talk to me however you feel appropriate. That's okay with me. That's a boundary I have. You're welcomed into my system at the time I teach you, and you never leave. And it doesn't matter how good you are in class or any other characteristic, I will welcome you just the same. So utilize everything you have, and we'll be just fine. Sound good? Any questions?